Diane made a defiant decision entering the 3rd grade. It was a silent knowing, something I would never share out loud with anybody else. I was not going to do my math. Considering that my parents were very conscientious, they helped us practice our spelling words and our math facts, and we were sent to a very small elementary school where all of the teachers knew all of the families and all of the students. Theoretically, this situation should have lasted about 48 hours before I was busted. But I made it through September. October. I made it through November. And December. Who was asleep at the wheel? Was it my parents or the teacher? I wasn't going to bring it up. January. I made it through January. And I made it through February. But something happened in March. And I couldn't tell you what it was because it's a complete blank from my memory. It must have been pretty bad. But I have evidence that something happened in March because we had spring break in April for 2 weeks. And I spent my spring vacation sitting in my bedroom at my desk doing math. I became intimately acquainted with every nook and cranny of my desk, all the little cubby holes and the little drawers. Oh, it was so much fun. And there's a little second door to the left, there's a little hiding spot behind there. I'm sure I had hid something different every day behind there. And it was tough at the start, but I did do some math. And at the end of 2 weeks of this lonely existence, alone in my bedroom doing math, I finished. And I survived. And as I look back as an adult, I think back on my entire school career, and I realized I learned more about math in 3rd grade than any other year of my schooling. It turns out that being completely immersed works for me. If I'm going to learn something, immersion is the key. Oh, I'd be brilliant if my entire schooling was managed that way. How do you learn best? Do you like being immersed in a topic? Or do you like to be handed out little pieces of information that accumulate? Or do you like to digest the information? Maybe learn something and sleep on it? Well, you already know my feelings about being immersed. I guess I learned that lesson the hard way. But I do believe in doling out small pieces of information. As a violin teacher, I have a very unique perspective because I typically will see a student from the age of 4 all the way through to 12th grade. That's 13 or 14 years. And most school teachers see a kid for 9 months. I am amazed by how, if I give this student a bit of information once a week, how amazingly developed they are by the time they're in middle school. Outsiders will look at my students and say, "Oh, Diane, your students, they're so talented. But I'd like you to try on this idea. Is it inborn talent? God-given talent, whatever you want to call it? I'd like you to consider acquired talent. Accumulation of small pieces of information over the years." So yes, I love the immersion, but I do absolutely respect the idea of the accumulation of small amounts of material. But my favorite is really the digestion. I I'll be working with a 4-year-old, and I'll be asking them to do some crazy technique that you'd only use to play the violin. There's no way their brain is wired to do this, and yet they're willing to try it. They don't have the capacity to do this, but whether it's because they're trying to please their parent or please me, or they really want to play the violin, they're willing to try it. So we'll work on it, and we'll try, and we'll try, and we'll try, and after about 5 minutes, I'll get the signal. It's an itch or a wiggle, and I know, okay, we've used up our time. And I'll say to the student, okay, go wiggle on the floor, and we'll talk about what we had for lunch, and maybe I'll talk to the parent about a teaching point. And then after a couple minutes, I'll say, okay, let's try that again. And 9 times out of 10, the student does it right away. It's followed by a giggle because it's just, how could that be so easy now when it was impossible 2 minutes ago? Yeah, digestion, my favorite. You don't have to do anything to digest information. As a violin student in college, we were always challenged, constantly learning harder and harder repertoire. And I loved the summers because I would go back and I would play a piece of music I hadn't played in 6 months and discover that it's easy now. And all I've done is sleep on it. Why bring these up? Immersion, small bits of information, digestion. We're all lifelong students. We're all lifelong teachers, whether it's your career or not. And I love identifying these things so that we could have tools to use, quick tools that we could grab. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where I'm constantly thinking to myself, oh, I need to sleep on that. Or, oh, I should probably make sure I do a little bit of that every day so it sticks. I'm always using these tools. My challenge to you is to go out, learn, be the best learner you can be, and use some of these tools. But whatever you do, don't act like Diane, who made a defiant decision.